Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to be diving deep into something pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah,
This
definitely.
idea of the prosperity gospel.
Absolutely.
We've got a video here titled 1013.mp4, and it really kind of lays out a lot of the core ideas and beliefs
Right.
of this whole concept.
Yeah,
And it's something I think a lot of people have questions about.
for sure.
You hear about it and you wonder, is there really a link
Mm.
between
Yeah,
faith and your finances?
right.
Like, are those two things really connected somehow?
Well, yeah, and people have been wondering about that for a long time. And
Yeah.
and the prosperity gospel kind of gives a very direct answer.
Yeah.
It basically says, look, if you're faithful,
Hmm.
God's going to bless you with wealth.
With financial abundance.
Yeah.
So before we, jump into this video,
Mm.
I think it would be helpful to kind of get a little bit of background.
Sure.
Like, where did this idea come from?
Okay.
And, how's it changed over time?
So, I mean, the prosperity gospel as we know it today, it really has roots in this movement called New Thought.
New thought.
Yeah, it was kind of a philosophical movement, late 1800s.
Okay.
And it was really all about the power of positive thinking.
Okay.
Like, your thoughts can influence your reality.
Right.
And so this idea got mixed in with certain ways of interpreting the Bible.
I see.
And it really started to gain traction in some parts of Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
particularly like Pentecostalism
Mm-hmm.
and charismatic Christianity, especially in the second half of the 20th century.
Okay, so this new thought connection.
Yeah.
Do we see that, in the video that we have here?
Yeah, you can kind of hear it in the way the speaker talks about giving and receiving blessings.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, if you think positive thoughts
Yeah.
and you do the right things, like
Yeah.
give money, then you're going to attract material wealth.
Okay, so it's kind of like a
Yeah, it's like a law of attraction.
spiritual law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. Well, let's hear what this guy has to say.
Okay.
This speaker, in this video, he seems pretty fired up.
Yeah, he's very charismatic.
Yeah. Okay, so let's listen to this first little excerpt here,
Okay.
where he's talking about giving.
All right.
Wow.
What did you think?
He really makes a distinction there between giving to the church
Yeah.
and giving for your own personal benefit.
Exactly.
It's like two totally different things.
Yeah, and I think that really highlights, one of the key things about the prosperity gospel. It's very focused on the individual.
Yeah.
It's not about helping the community. It's
Yeah.
about, you achieving prosperity.
Mhm.
And notice how he calls the church a blessed body.
Yeah.
It's like it's already taken care of.
It's like this separate thing
Yeah,
that doesn't need our help,
right.
but we need its help.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, well, in this next clip, he quotes from the Bible,
Okay.
and it seems to support this idea that God controls, all the wealth.
Let's listen.
Right.
The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it is a powerful statement. And that quote actually comes from the book of Haggai
Okay.
in the Old Testament.
Okay.
And it's used a lot in prosperity gospel teachings
Uh-huh.
to basically say, God's in control of all the money and the gold,
Right.
and he wants to give it to his followers.
Okay.
But, there are other ways to interpret that passage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people focus on the fact that it's talking about rebuilding the temple and putting God first,
Okay.
not necessarily about material wealth.
So it's all about context.
Yeah, context is really important when you're interpreting the Bible
Yeah.
because, different people can read the same passage
Right.
and come away with very different meanings.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's keep listening to this guy.
Okay.
There's something else he says that I found a little bit confusing.
Oh, yeah.
He says, we're all too small to really be sponsoring God's kingdom. Mm-hmm.
But then he encourages us to give generously.
Right.
Like, which one is it?
Yeah. Let's hear that part.
It's like he's saying we're not big enough to help God, but we should still give him money.
Yeah. It's a bit of a paradox.
Yeah.
But I think what he's trying to do is create this sense of dependence on God.
Oh.
So he's saying, you're too small to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You need God's help.
Okay.
And giving money is a way to get that help.
So it's like you're not just giving to a cause, it's
You
like
know.
you're investing
Exactly.
in your own financial future.
Sure. And God's blessing is like the return on your investment.
I see.
And, that can be really appealing to people who are struggling,
Right.
or maybe they feel like they don't have control over their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them hope.
Right.
But, we also have to think about the other side of that.
Yeah, the potential downsides.
Yeah, like what happens if you give and give?
And you don't see the results.
Exactly. And I think this next part really highlights those downsides.
Yeah.
Because he basically says if you want financial blessings,
Mm-hmm.
you got to obey God.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay.
He really hammers home that point about obeying God's instructions.
Yeah, he does.
Like it's a direct transaction.
Yeah, obey and you'll be rich.
Right. Disobey and, well,
And you'll suffer.
you suffer.
Yeah, and, that can put a lot of pressure on people.
Especially if they're already struggling.
Exactly, because if you're not getting those blessings,
Right.
you might start to doubt your faith.
Yeah.
Or you might think you're not doing enough to please God.
Right. And then you might start making bad financial decisions.
Exactly, just trying to chase those blessings.
Wow. So it's like a
Yeah,
double-edged sword.
for sure.
It can give you hope, but it can also
Yeah, it can create a lot of anxiety.
create a lot of anxiety.
And fear.
One thing I keep coming back to is the way he repeats that line.
Which one?
The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think he's trying to do with that?
Well, let's hear it one more time.
I mean, he says it over and over again.
It really makes you wonder, is he trying to encourage people to be generous? Or is he creating this transactional view of faith?
Yeah, like, is it about helping others?
Right.
Or is it about getting rich?
That's a great question, and I think it's something for everyone to consider.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this deep dive has been fascinating.
It has.
We've seen how the prosperity gospel really connects faith and money.
Yeah.
And it offers this, very powerful message of hope and abundance.
Mm.
But as we've discussed, it also raises some tough questions
For sure.
about, individual versus community
Yeah,
and how we interpret the Bible
absolutely.
and really, what it means to have genuine faith.
Right. And one thing we didn't even touch on
Yeah.
is how these teachings can impact vulnerable communities.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Lots to think about.
Definitely. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, keep exploring
Keep asking questions.
and keep thinking critically.
Absolutely.